Have you ever wondered what it means to live without financial limits? From billion-dollar residences to a high-end designer wardrobe and multiple income streams, Melania Trump's lifestyle sparks endless curiosity. And it raises one question: what does extreme wealth truly look like? Let's begin with the most fascinating part: residences and travel. When you are someone of Melania Trump's extraordinary stature and financial position, you don't simply have a home. No. That would be far too ordinary, far too pedestrian, far too normal. Instead, you have multiple residences, each one more spectacular and breathtaking than the last, scattered across various locations to suit your every whim, desire, and mood. The Trump family divides their time between 3 primary residences, and each one of these properties is so magnificent, so grandiose, and so utterly impressive that ordinary people like you and me can only dream of setting foot inside them. Let's take a closer look at each of these palatial estates, shall we? First and foremost, there's a crown jewel of the Trump real estate empire, the legendary, the iconic, the absolutely breathtaking Mar-a-Lago. This stunning 126-room mansion is valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. And when I tell you that this place is essentially a palace fit for royalty, I am not exaggerating in the slightest. We're talking about a property so vast, so expansive, and so luxuriously appointed that it defies the imagination of most ordinary human beings. Located in the sun-drenched paradise of Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-a-Lago sprawls across approximately 20 acres of some of the most valuable real estate in the entire United States of America. The mansion itself features dozens of bedrooms, numerous living spaces, dining rooms that could accommodate small armies of guests, and amenities that would make even the most jaded billionaire's jaw drop to the floor in astonishment. But wait, we're just getting started here, folks. Because Mar-a-Lago, as magnificent as it undoubtedly is, represents just one piece of the Trump residential puzzle. The second major property in Melania's life is none other than the legendary Trump Tower in New York City, where Melania maintains a private penthouse that sits high above the bustling streets of Manhattan, like a throne in the sky. This penthouse, my friends, is not just any ordinary apartment. It is a testament to wealth, power, and influence that most people cannot even begin to comprehend. We're talking about a residence that occupies the uppermost floors of one of the most recognizable buildings in one of the most expensive cities on the entire planet. The views alone, those sweeping panoramic vistas of the New York City skyline, are worth more than most people's entire lifetime earnings. What's particularly fascinating about Melania's relationship with this New York residence is that she has been known to favor New York for its privacy, especially during Donald Trump's presidency. While her husband was busy running the country from Washington, D.C., Melania often chose to remain in the familiar, comfortable surroundings of Trump Tower, where she could maintain a sense of normalcy and personal space that the White House simply could not provide. Speaking of the White House, it's worth noting that Melania reportedly spends little time there beyond official duties. This tells us something profound about her character and preferences. She is a woman who values her privacy, her personal space, and her ability to live life on her own terms, even when her husband occupies the most powerful political position in the free world. The third primary residence in the Trump portfolio is a sprawling estate in Bedminster, New Jersey. This property offers a different kind of luxury, a more pastoral countryside aesthetic that provides a welcome respite from the glitz and glamour of Palm Beach and the urban intensity of New York City. The Bedminster property is essentially a retreat, a sanctuary, a place where the Trumps can escape the constant scrutiny of public life and enjoy some semblance of peace and quiet. But here's something that many people don't know about Melania Trump. Her real estate holdings extend far beyond American shores. She owns properties in her native Slovenia that generate rental income estimated at $500,000 to $1 million annually. That's right, folks. Melania is pulling in somewhere between $500,000 and a full $1 million every single year just from rental properties in the small European country where she was born and raised. Think about that for a moment. Most people would consider themselves extraordinarily fortunate to earn $500,000 in an entire decade of hard work. But Melania Trump earns that much annually from just one small portion of her vast real estate portfolio, essentially as passive income that rolls in. At the same time, she's busy living her extraordinary life. Now, let's talk about travel. Because when you're Melania Trump, getting from point A to point B is not the same mundane experience that it is for the rest of us mere mortals. Travel often involves private jets, which means no waiting in long security lines, no cramped economy seats, no crying babies or chatty strangers, just pure, unadulterated luxury from takeoff to landing. Interestingly enough, despite having access to literally any vacation destination on Earth and the resources to travel there in absolute comfort and style, Melania has demonstrated a surprisingly grounded perspective on travel. Past honeymoons and vacations at Mar-a-Lago or international spots have been described by Melania herself as basic relative to expectations. Can you imagine that? What most people would consider the trip of a lifetime, Melania Trump considers basic. This fascinating insight tells us something important about the psychology of extreme wealth. When you have access to literally everything, when there are no financial constraints on your choices whatsoever, your frame of reference for what constitutes special or extraordinary becomes fundamentally different from that of ordinary people. What seems impossibly luxurious to us is, to Melania, simply routine. But that's just the beginning, because Melanie is not just a real estate billionaire. She's also a fashion icon. Fashion and personal style. If there's one area where Melania Trump has consistently demonstrated absolute mastery, unwavering commitment, and undeniable excellence, it is unquestionably in the realm of fashion and personal style. This is a woman who does not merely wear clothes. She inhabits them, transforms them, elevates them into something approaching art. To understand Melania's relationship with fashion, we must first travel back in time to explore her origins in the modeling industry. As a former model for prestigious brands like Gucci and a Vogue cover model, Melania developed an intimate understanding of high fashion from the inside. She wasn't just someone who admired beautiful clothing from afar. She was the canvas upon which designers painted their visions, the living, breathing embodiment of their creative dreams. This background in professional modeling has informed every aspect of Melania's personal style throughout her adult life. She is known for her elegant, high-end wardrobe that consistently makes headlines and sets tongues wagging among fashion critics and casual observers alike. When Melania Trump walks into a room, people notice. They always notice. What's particularly interesting about Melania's approach to fashion is the ethical stance she took during her time as First Lady of the United States. She reportedly pays for her own clothing, eschewing taxpayer funds during her tenure as First Lady from 2017 to 2021, unlike some predecessors. This detail is significant because it demonstrates a level of personal integrity and financial independence that sets her apart from other political spouses. Think about what this means in practical terms. While occupying one of the most visible positions in American public life, a role that required her to attend countless official events, state dinners, and diplomatic functions, Melania chose to fund her wardrobe entirely from her own personal resources. No taxpayer dollars were spent on her designer gowns, her elegant ensembles, or her carefully curated accessories. Every single garment that graced her figure was purchased with her own money. Her style draws on European influences, favoring designers such as Dolce & Gabbana and Chanel. This preference of European fashion houses is hardly surprising, given Melania's own European origins and her years spent working in the international modeling industry. She brings a distinctly continental sensibility to her fashion choices, sophisticated, refined, and effortlessly elegant in a way that transcends trends and temporary fads. When Melania wears Dolce & Gabbana, she isn't just wearing a dress or a suit. She's making a statement about quality, craftsmanship, and the enduring value of true luxury. When she adorns herself in Chanel, she's connecting herself to a legacy of fashion excellence that stretches back nearly a century. These are not impulse purchases or random selections. They are carefully considered choices that reflect her deep understanding of fashion as both art and communication. The financial reality of maintaining such an extraordinary wardrobe is almost impossible for ordinary people to comprehend. We're talking about individual pieces that cost more than most people's cars, handbags that could pay someone's rent for a year, shoes that represent a month's salary for the average American worker. And Melania owns not just one or two such items, but entire closets full of them, curated collections that would make museum curators weep with envy. However, it must be noted that Melania's relationship with wealth and its public perception has not been without controversy. Critics have noted her detachment from everyday concerns, such as when she commented on rising food and gas prices in 2024 despite her wealth. This observation highlights the fundamental disconnect that often exists between those who live at the very top of the economic pyramid and those who struggle with day-to-day financial realities. For someone like Melania Trump, who has spent decades surrounded by extreme wealth and privilege, the concept of worrying about whether gas prices might affect your ability to drive to work or whether rising food costs might force you to make difficult choices about your family's nutrition is essentially an abstraction. It's not that she's necessarily unsympathetic. It's that her lived experience is so fundamentally different from that of ordinary people that certain concerns simply don't register in the same way. This contrast between Melania's gilded existence and the financial struggles of average citizens serves as a powerful reminder of just how different life at the top really is. When your biggest fashion concern is whether to wear the Dolce & Gabbana or the Chanel to this evening's gala, you're operating in a completely different universe from someone whose biggest fashion concern is whether they can afford new shoes for their children before school starts. Now we arrive at perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Melania Trump's extraordinary existence: business ventures and income streams. These are Melania's various business ventures, the multiple streams of income that flow into her considerable personal fortune, like rivers emptying into an already vast ocean of wealth. You see, Melania Trump is not simply a woman who married well and sits back to enjoy the fruits of her husband's labor. Far from it. She has demonstrated throughout her adult life a keen entrepreneurial instinct and a willingness to leverage her fame, her image, and her personal brand into profitable business ventures.